Discipline equals freedom. Field Manual 2017 by Jocko Willink is a collection of tips and strategies for living a disciplined life. Whether one's long-term goals relate to diet, exercise, or work, self-imposed discipline is a tried and true methodology for reaching an objective. There is no shortcut. There is only hard work and self-control, which pave the path to success. Training, readiness, preparation. These are the core components of discipline and ultimately success. The American obsession with immediate gratification is a trap to be avoided. Most of self-help culture is a lie. It may seem difficult to give up self-indulgent pleasures at first, but it's important to persist. The debate about nature versus nurture misses the eminence of discipline, which largely determines whether an individual thrives or fails in life. The cornerstones of a disciplined lifestyle are a healthy diet, rigorous exercise, good sleep habits, emotional regulation, and unshakable determination. A healthy diet requires eliminating processed foods, including sugar and flour, and consuming more vegetables and lean proteins. Waking up early is a necessary first step towards meeting exercise goals. Workouts should occur daily and should always push the limits of one's abilities. In trying to establish a highly disciplined lifestyle, it's important to distinguish between self-motivation and self-control. Self-motivation is fickle, but discipline is more dependable. It requires commitment even on days when disciplined choices seem undesirable or even impossible. Challenges should not be seen as obstacles, but as opportunities to put one's best foot forward. Quitting might be tempting, but it is unacceptable. The temptation to procrastinate should never be indulged without a 24-hour waiting period, which will usually curb the urge. Fear of failure is understandable, but it's crucial to leverage fear as a helpful motivational tool, rather than allow it to become paralyzing. Progress requires constant movement, even if it's in small daily increments. Regret is another unavoidable human emotion, but it's never a motivational tool and frequently prevents individuals from taking risks. Disciplined people focus on the things that they can control and let go of stressors that elude their control. In particularly stressful situations, it may be helpful to emotionally detach and examine the situation. Fix the problem if possible, and if it can't be fixed, let it go. Another unhelpful emotion is self-doubt, which can lead to making excuses. Overconfidence is just as bad. Strategically, it's beneficial to remain optimistic and productive without adopting an egotistical attitude or unrealistic beliefs. Self-improvement isn't a goal, it is a lifelong journey. Discipline requires hard work, determination, and commitment, but it's well worth the effort. The key to a successful, satisfying, productive life is discipline, which is self-perpetuating. Discipline or self-control is the key to productivity and happiness. Researchers at the University of Chicago found that study participants who considered themselves highly disciplined reported higher levels of satisfaction in life. Discipline did not, in the participants' view, require short-term sacrifice. In fact, disciplined people experienced more happiness on a day-to-day and hour-to-hour basis than their less disciplined peers. There is no place for breaks or days off in a highly disciplined lifestyle. When it comes to self-control, there is no distinction between a weekday and the weekend. Often, people who stick to a regimented diet, sleep schedule, and exercise routine will find that their commitment pays off in unexpected ways. Research suggests that people who exert self-control in one area of life will experience a chain reaction in which they naturally experience more self-control in other areas of life. Studies have found, for instance, that people who wake up early are more likely to exercise regularly and make better nutritional choices, whereas people who sleep late are more likely to skip the gym. Researchers at Northwestern University found that people who introduced more physical activity into their lives also reduced the fat in their diets without making a conscious effort to do so. People should not wait for an opportune moment to establish a disciplined lifestyle. The best time to make a change is now. It's understandable, if not advisable, to wish to put off an unpleasant task until a later date. But procrastination is anathema to discipline. Lifestyle changes work best when they're implemented as quickly as possible. People commonly delay the start of a new diet or workout regimen to a date in the future, but this is a mistake. Perhaps the worst date on which to schedule a habit change is also the most popular one: New Year's Day. Studies suggest that less than 10% of people succeed in keeping New Year's resolutions. Even though making these resolutions is a cultural norm, resolving to change a habit at any point in the future is fundamentally a form of procrastination. Announcing a habit change can provide a mental reward that's similar to actually implementing that change. For example, a man who tells his colleagues about his intention to join a CrossFit program may get a boost from simply saying the words out loud, and would therefore be less likely to follow through with the exercise. A better strategy is to announce small steps towards change as they happen instead of trumpeting long-term goals in public. Waking up early every day after a good night's sleep helps promote a disciplined lifestyle. One of the best ways to jumpstart and maintain a highly disciplined lifestyle is to rise early in the morning. Since discipline is self-perpetuating, starting the day with a rigorous workout sets the correct tone for the hours that follow. Further, sleep science suggests that people who wake up early tend to have more of a proactive mindset than their late sleeping peers. Waking up early can also lead to a better mood. It tends to promote cheerfulness and discourage mental health problems like depression. How much sleep a person needs is largely determined by genetics, but sleep hygiene is a matter of personal discipline. The best way to adjust to a new sleep schedule is to wake up earlier to reset the circadian clock. Committing to an earlier bedtime doesn't necessarily work. Most people can force themselves to wake up with an alarm, but forcing oneself to sleep is more difficult. Experts recommend making schedule adjustments in increments of 20 minutes. For example, someone who normally wakes up at 9 a.m. should set the alarm for 8:40 a.m. one day, 8:20 the next day, and so on until the ideal wake-up time is reached. Willink recommends a wake-up time between 4:30 and 4:55 a.m. The best way to maintain good sleep habits is to keep a consistent schedule, but there are additional strategies that promote good sleep hygiene. One is exposure to natural sunlight. Waking up in a bright room is easier than rising in darkness. Researchers also recommend trying different alarm tones, especially for people who tend to reach for the snooze button. The louder the alarm, the better. Self-discipline is not a reservoir that can be tapped. Instead, it's like a muscle that can be strengthened with training. Psychologists define self-discipline as the elevation of long-term goals over the pursuit of instant gratification. Some people theorize that willpower is a finite resource that can be temporarily drained. In psychology, this theory is known as ego depletion, and from the turn of the 20th century until 2016, it was the predominant conception of willpower in the field. The theory was developed in what was once considered a seminal study by psychologists Roy Baumeister and Diane Tice, who measured how long it took participants to give up on an impossible puzzle after spending time in a room with freshly baked chocolate chip cookies that only some participants were allowed to eat. They found that the participants whose willpower had been depleted by being forbidden from eating the cookies did not work on the puzzle, for as long as the participants who were permitted to eat cookies. After 2 decades of dominating the field, however, the findings of this study were undermined by a large, multi-continent study that found no evidence to support the theory of ego depletion. Instead of thinking of willpower as a finite reservoir, it's more accurate to imagine it as a muscle that can be exercised. Research suggests that, with training, willpower can grow stronger. Discipline must be self-directed. It should rely more on commitment and belief than on encouragement from an external source. Discipline can't be imposed by an external source, but instead must be internally generated. Encouragement from outside sources may be fickle, and thus cannot be relied upon to achieve one's goals. One's commitment to discipline must persist even when external support wavers. Researchers who study psychological motivation distinguish between 2 types: extrinsic and intrinsic. Extrinsic motivation involves outside influences such as social norms or rewards and punishments. Intrinsic or self-directed motivation involves self-generated interests and beliefs. Generally speaking, since intrinsic motivation is more durable and meaningful, it is more powerful than extrinsic forms of motivation. Intrinsic motivation, then, is the only form that really matters in training and other aspects of a disciplined lifestyle. Another important component in self-control is belief. The research surrounding willpower suggests that people's personal beliefs about willpower dictate the way in which their willpower is or is not taxed by a strenuous task. In this paradigm, belief itself shapes reality. Researchers at Stanford University found that subjects who conceptualized difficult tasks as energizing were less likely to feel taxed by the work. The key to achieving an objective is to maintain focus and balance short-term wins with long-term goals. It can be easy to lose sight of long-term goals. To keep on track, one should break the goal down into smaller incremental tasks. Many people set a goal that is too nebulous or too far out of reach. When the goal takes the form of a vague wish, it's less likely to be fulfilled. For instance, a goal of exercising more isn't specific enough to inspire a change in behavior. It's far better to commit to an actionable plan, such as going to the gym 3 times a week. In the field of management, the acronym SMART is used to help people improve goal setting. Though the concept was originally developed for institutional use, it applies to personal goals as well. The acronym letters stand for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. SMART works because people who have a specific step-by-step plan to introduce a change into their lives are more likely to achieve a given goal than someone who hasn't sketched out those details. To set a specific goal requires concision, clarity, and concreteness. For example, a goal of losing weight is vague, whereas a goal of losing 20 pounds is specific. Measurable goals are observable using some sort of metric. For example, someone pursuing weight loss can watch the numbers on the scale. Achievable goals incorporate a certain amount of realism. For example, a goal to lose 10 pounds in 3 months may be practical for some people, whereas a goal to lose 50 pounds in the same amount of time is not. A relevant goal is an ambition that is important on a personal level. Finally, time-bound goals set a target date for the achievement, rather than leaving the time frame open-ended. Discipline requires a firm commitment to healthful eating. Choosing to eat nutritious foods is an essential form of self-discipline. Addictive foods like sugar and flour must be forsaken. Instead of indulging in occasional treats, a better strategy is to avoid problematic foods altogether. People should avoid sugar, flour, and other carbohydrates. While it may be tempting to compromise on these principles or to cheat sometimes, it's important to never veer off track. Soon enough, a little cheating turns into serious backsliding. An example of a structured version of such a no-exceptions diet has been developed by psychologist Susan Peirce Thompson. In Bright Line Eating 2017, Thompson argues that it's easier to eliminate unhealthy foods than eat them in moderation. Thompson argues that bad eating habits are caused by 3 key factors: lack of willpower, insatiable hunger, and food cravings. Planning and adhering to strict daily menus will address the issue of willpower, as it removes the element of choice. Insatiable hunger naturally diminishes with time as eating habits improve. Cravings tend to dissipate when foods like sugar and flour are eliminated. Following strict guidelines makes healthful eating choices a matter of rote, instead of a series of fraught decisions throughout the day. Exercise improves energy levels and brain function. Physical exercise is an important element of a disciplined lifestyle. Every day should involve some sort of workout, even if the routine is light. The advantages of vigorous physical activity go far beyond obvious benefits such as fitness and weight loss. Just as discipline begets discipline, research suggests that expending energy regularly to work out boosts energy levels. This is especially true for sedentary people, for whom exercise can result in energy-boosting benefits more powerful than prescription drugs, an earlier bedtime or daytime napping. A disciplined exercise regimen also improves brain function by sharpening focus, curbing impulses, and improving memory. Aerobic exercise intense enough to make a person sweat can reduce brain fog, a symptom of aging, as well as serious diseases like dementia. Younger people also benefit from aerobic exercise, which enlarges areas of the brain related to learning, cognition, and memory.